gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving to you. This video is about a week late. I was a little under the weather and didn't get to it last weekend like I intended to, but we are going to do a review of the Broadway Limited SD40-2 locomotive. And the model you have sitting in front of you is obviously Norfolk and Southern, but I always believe that if you like something, then you have to get it in every color, so we also have it in Southern. I think the Southern is probably one of the sharpest paint schemes, and I just absolutely love it in the SD40-2s. So, yeah, I had to have that. So, today we're just going to focus on the NS version. Both models function exactly the same, so if I review one, it's reviewing both of them. And so the SD40-2 is one of my favorite locomotives, whether it's high hood or low hood. Has always been one of my favorite locomotives, and according to the interwebs, it apparently was a lot of people's favorite locomotives. It was one of EMD's best-selling locomotives, rated about 3,000 horsepower. These things were in production from 1972, and the last one rolled off the line in 1988. And then I think they may have had some other ones going overseas as late as 89. So these are a little bit older models, but you can still find SD40-2s in service today. They have been rebuilt, refurbished with new computers, all that sort of stuff. So they really stood the test of time as an American workhorse. So obviously Norfolk Southern and inherited some of these from Southern. Both locomotives were on the rosters for the various railroads. And let's take a look here at the model itself. So I did do some Googling, find some pictures of the actual NS 1920. I'm sorry, 1629, and everything that I could see from the horn configuration to the antenna array seems to be fairly accurate. The only thing that I did notice in some of the pictures, they had added beacons probably for yard service, which you could add to this model if you desire, but obviously it doesn't come that way. And then all of the labeling is nice and crisp. The paint looks good. The rivet detail is good. The handrails, they've even taken the time to paint the yellow on the stairs, the safety yellow, which is odd, although that is prototypical, but they decided to leave the yellow paint off of the actual handrails itself. I have no idea why. It's kind of careless, to be honest with you. But it's an easy fix with some yellow paint. You can simply paint the end handrails safety yellow as the actual model has. You've got your separately applied MU hoses, nice detailed pilots with your cut levers, and that's on both sides here. You have ditch lights on the front or the short hood side, but I don't know if you noticed this or not, you do not have them on the long hood. And these locomotives were notorious for running in what was called Southern style, which was long hood forward. And they did have ditch lights on both sides. So why Broadway Limited decided to leave them off of the back, I don't know. And honestly, it's sort of aggravating because although I think you could add them with fairly minimal skill set, it should be there, especially for the fact that you're paying for a top model. You are getting the Paragon 4 sound-equipped version here, which as far as I know is the only version they've made it, because this will run on DC or DCC. Obviously in DC the sound is somewhat limited, but why they skipped the ditch lights on the one side of the locomotive, I don't know. And honestly, if there is one majorly detracting feature of this model. It's that they left those off. So I'm not sure what you guys are thinking over there at Broadway Limited, but yeah, bad. So like I said, you could probably add those on if you'd like to. I'm sure there's tabs on the decoder that you could add some lights, as well as on the for the beacons. But for now, we're going to leave it as it is. So other than that fairly major faux pas, the rest of the detail on the locomotive is very nice. Detail in the trucks, and of course both of these models are basically black. So under the light here, you can make out the details, but with a little bit of weathering, I'm sure that most of this detail will come out even in the layout room. So it's not a bad looking locomotive if you can look past the fact that you're missing those ditch lights on the one end. Other than that, it's a nice looking locomotive. So let's take her over to the layout and see how she sounds. Okay, so that was just a quick sampling of the sounds that the locomotive has. Obviously, start up and shut down, and then of course the prime mover is related to the speed of the locomotive. I have noticed that this locomotive tends to move a little bit before the engine revs up, so I'm sure that's a simple adjustment that can be made in the CVs to give that a chance to catch up. So obviously, as with all DCC equipped locomotives, it comes equipped with code 3 being the default, and you can change the address for that as you need to. There is a little cheat card here that has the various sounds and the functions for those sounds, so you can pretty much play with all of those and see how it runs. But let's go ahead and take it out on the road, and we're going to pull these 3 Athearn rail box cars, and we'll get you some shots here from around the layout. Okay, so we're back at the workbench, and you've heard it flex its sound muscle a little bit there. You've seen it ride. It is a smooth running locomotive. It does seem like the sound decoder tends to be a step or two behind the actual motion of the locomotive. So, like I said, that needs a CV adjustment somewhere. Once again, my expertise in sound is just beginning, so I'm not exactly sure what I need to do there, but I'll get into it and read up on it. And they do have a full downloadable manual for the Paragon 4 models, and it tells you how to do everything. So I just need to get that downloaded and take a look at it. But now let's do an honest assessment of the model. In the Norfolk Southern scheme, honestly, I can do without the yellow paint on the handrails. I'm just going to add that myself, so that's not a huge deal for me. But the lack of ditch lights on the back cost this thing serious points. And the only reason that I'm even overlooking that now and not totally bummed is the fact that I absolutely love the SD40s -2, and I love the high hood versions in both Norfolk and Southern and Southern. They are legitimately my two favorite locomotives, so it's hard for me not to love this model based on the paint scheme. But that not having those ditch lights is major, and I think if you're going to pay $200 for a locomotive, that is the kind of detail that you should get on that kind of locomotive. So there's a loss of points there. If I had to give this a score out of 10, I'm giving it probably a 7. The reason I'm giving it the 7, all three of those points belong to the missing ditch lights on the back. That's just a really egregious oversight, and I'd really like to know what they were thinking when they left those off. But like I said, not a real big deal on the paint on the railings for the Norfolk Southern. I'll get that added, but it's a shame because the rest of the model is really nice. It runs nice. You know, it's going to look good in a consist, and it's going to look good doing some local switching work. So I'm stoked about the locomotive itself. I do have an SD40-2, the Intermountain version. This is a more detailed model, I think. But once again, you know, those being my favorite locomotives, it's going to be nice having those two paired up, the long hood and the or the high hood and the short hood. But yeah, if you can get past the ditch lights on the back, this is not a bad model. Like I said, it does run nice. It's just that part kind of sucks. So, in any event, okay, that's my review of the Broadway Limited Paragon 4 Rolling Thunder DCC or DC SD40-2. So if you can overlook those couple of minor details, pick yourself up one. If those are showstoppers for you, then at least you know, and you can wait till they either make a different version or another manufacturer corrects the details. But right now, we are going to give this baby a 7 out of 10, and that is because of our ditch lights. Hope this was helpful for you. If you're planning on getting one or putting it on your Christmas list, you now have an idea of some of the features that you're going to get and not get, and hope that's useful for you.